So, here we are. More leaks about the Galaxy Z Fold 5. So, today we're going to be talking about the camera upgrades that are now announced with the Z Fold 5. Now, if we're being honest, the best smartphone cameras on the market right now have to be the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But, with that being said, we don't expect too much of that close comparison for the Z Fold 5 to these two cameras, but we expect to have a little bit of an update from the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Our initial rumors, what we first heard was it's going to be very similar to the Galaxy S23 Plus, and that's pretty much that. So let's go ahead and see what this is. And the first line says, same specs, but it's not all bad news. So Samsung's foldable Galaxy Z series has a lot of great qualities, which is why they're the best foldable phones. But their cameras can disappoint, especially compared to the likes of the Galaxy S23 Ultra, this phone right here, which is the best camera phone available right now. That's actually funny because I will say, after testing both of these, it's a 1A, 1B scenario. They're both amazing. It depends on your scenarios. In low light, I prefer the Galaxy S23 Ultra. In more real-life settings, I probably prefer the iPhone 14 Pro. But they're very similar in every single test possible. And a new leak suggests that the trend won't be changing with the launch of the Galaxy Z Fold 5 and Z Flip 5. According to the leaker, Yogesh Brar, the Z Fold 5 will come with a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 10 megapixel telephoto. Meanwhile, he claims that the Z Flip 5 will come with a pair of 12 megapixel main and ultra wide lenses. And if you guys have ever used the Z Flip's cameras, you know how absolutely god-awful they are. And the reason why they're god-awful is because if you take a picture of someone staying still, it's not that bad. But if you take a picture of someone moving around like this, the motion blur on them are absolutely god-awful. You'll wish you never took the picture. That's how bad it actually is. It's really horrendous. So right here it says Z Fold 5. We just looked at this. Z Flip 5. And it says improved hinges, new image sensors, larger outer displays, and Qualcomm Snapdragon for Galaxy. So again, there's still going to be upgrades to the Z Fold 5. I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, well, Z Fold 5 is pretty much Z Fold 4. And that's it. No, there are upgrades. It just isn't really upgrades that we... when you look at a device, it's not going to look much different. Those are rather disappointing specs to see, frankly, and if it's true, this year's foldable offers the same camera resolution as Z Fold 4 and Z Flip 4. Doubly disappointing is the fact that there have been rumors of Z Fold 5 might come with the same 108 megapixel camera that debuted on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. And that obviously is not going to happen at all. Listen. It is what it is. At some point, I've said this many times with these foldable phones, whether it is a Galaxy Z Fold 5, Surface Zero, 1, 2, and 3, there are features that these companies could add on to these phones, right? To a certain degree. Keep in mind that, they're trying to make the Galaxy Z Fold 5 as thin as humanly possible. They're never going to get down to a candy bar cell phone like that, right? It just won't happen. But they're going to try their best to get as thin as possible, as close as possible to that size. Every feature you add, and when you do that, you limit the amount of space you have to put stuff into that phone, right? Because every single feature you add, well, that's less space you can add. Every time you make it smaller, that's less features you can add into it. This is why the Surface Duo 2 and 1 and 2, the reason why they don't have wireless charging is because it's so thin already, they can't put wireless charging coils in there to add it to it. So, when you make it thinner and thinner and thinner, you're not going to be able to put a huge camera sensor in there to get this amazing cameras on the Z Fold 5. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, that's not why you buy the device. You buy the Z Fold 5 for the fact that, dang, I'm getting myself a tablet cell phone that I can do everything on, multitask, game, whatever. That's why you buy the device. So, as a Z Fold fan, a person who has bought every single Z Fold device so far, I really could care less about the camera. I really could. And even though I complain about the Z Flip camera being trash, I would still buy a Z Flip device if I wanted one. It really doesn't turn me away at all. I know some people do love to have the best camera as possible, and I've talked about this many, many times, that, you know, megapixels is really just a fraud thing to look at. Because everyone's like, oh, well, what's the megapixels of that camera sensor? That doesn't matter. Unless you're printing out the picture, megapixels do not matter. What matters is the sensor, and that really is the biggest thing. And it does have a new image sensors, which is absolutely a W. So, as long as the sensor has been improved, I don't really care if you give me a 50 megapixel camera or you give me a 108 megapixel cameras. At the end of the day, all that matters at that point is the amount of megapixels in the image. And if you're going to post on social media, it's going to downscale that thing completely. So all those 50 to 108, same exact look. The image sensors is actually what matters. So we need to have at least an improvement in image sensors. And if that is, as a right now leaking is going to be, then that's a W. And I think that's good enough for me to say that this is enough of an upgrade. If it's the same exact sensor, then no. If it's same sensor but more megapixels, then that's even worse, right? We want to see an image sensor improvement. So it looks like it should be at least a tad bit better. At least. But nonetheless, though, guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. Are you going to be picking up the Z Fold 5? I will be. The second I can pre-order it, I'm going to pick up this phone. I love the Z Fold series. I don't love them as much as I love the Surface Duo series. That is still my number one in my heart forever and ever. But the Z Fold series is a very close number 2. It's like a 1A, 1B. The Z Fold series is very close. And I think it's mainly because the Z Fold series is just so polished and ready to go. Where, you know, I know a lot of people have issues with the outside display of the Z Fold 3, 4, and now 5. Where it's like more or less thin like this. And you compare it, for example, to like a candy bar cell phone outside displays. You're not going to get that, right? The Surface Duo 1 and 2, at least it's like this outside. Well, technically outside. There's no actual outside. It's, you can put it in phone mode. But at least you have a bigger display. I know a lot of people don't like that fact. I have no problem with that fact. I love the Z Fold series. So we'll be picking it up whenever it does go ahead and drop. My guess is we'll probably get announced sometime in August or September. And we'll probably get it around that time period too. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.